Hey y'all, it's that time again. Shay Chronicles.
Hey guys, welcome to Shay Chronicles episode 2. I am Denise, your host, and today we will be discussing Jesus Loves Me Part 2. I want to apologize because I've had a very emotional week, and I originally had anticipated to have 2 guests on the show, which I did record with them, but I've decided to hold off on those recordings before I actually release them. Reason being is because I need a moment with this podcast. I need a moment with myself, and I need a moment with reality. I swear it is not my intention to be emotional in front of the world, but I need to talk. And I can talk with my girls all day, but sometimes I just don't even need a response. I just need someone to listen. I'm really hurting, and I have been for quite some time. And since launching the blog, Shay Chronicles, I've been able to voice my emotions and write about some of the things that I've experienced. And I love it. It's great. I appreciate it. I mean, it's a journal. It's a way to just heal. But my goal was to, if I'm feeling this way, I can't imagine someone else out there is, and not have anyone else to relate or just listen. And I'm realizing that this podcast and this blog is more than just me. But I do understand that in order for me to be able to support and fulfill this purpose that I truly believe like God is presenting to me, it starts with me. I've been super emotional this week because my brothers and I decided to sell my mother's house. I'm not sad about that. My mother lived in this home for about 3 years before I moved in, and she died a year later. This house carries a lot of burden for me only because a lot of sad things have happened to me in this house. A lot of harsh realities were brought to light in this house. And I'm just grateful that in this moment, I'm able to release and I'm able to move forward. But what I've realized in this moment and several moments within this house is a lot of that pain was internal. For so long, I thought that a lot of my pain was caused by other people, but really it was me not being able to identify the origin. And now that I have that grasp on that, just being able to look back in my past and realize that there are some things that happened that hurt me, that changed me, that created a new reality for me and changed my mindset. I now have the power to be better and change it moving forward. The reason why I'm mentioning this house, when I know we're discussing dads, is because when I first moved into this house, I and my ex-husband decided to move, myself and my ex-husband, decided to move my father in as well. Now, I am an extreme daddy's girl. I love my father very much. But what I've noticed is, and what I shared on the blog, so hopefully you guys all read Jesus Loves Me Part 1 Dad. If you read the post, you know that I took on a pretty big load with my father. Excuse me, guys. And I took on that responsibility. I took on his pain. I took on the task of his life coach. Like, his emotional support. I was 12 years old, making sure he was going to his meetings, you know, making sure he wasn't slipping, making sure that he was going to graduate from the program. I was on it. And back then, I'm just like, well, I'm just taking care of my dad. But what I didn't realize is I was really taking on extra baggage. It wasn't my job to rescue my dad. So when I thought about that, I kind of felt like, gosh, doesn't that sound selfish? Or shouldn't we take care of our parents? But not at 12. I was taking on, or I was trying to fill a void that I was feeling within. I wasn't even taking the time to really process anything that was going on in my life. I was just trying to get back to normal. And normal was what my mother provided me, you know, just being able to identify and exist. It's been so long since I've been there. I think in the moment when I was 12 and I took on that with my dad and wanted to care and take care of him, if I'm being honest, I needed him to take care of me. I needed someone to explain to me what was going on and that I was going to be okay. But instead, I just took on the role of his partner. Now, if you know my father, which you probably don't, but some of you guys do, my dad is like an OG. He's always been like just a charming, very charming ladies' man. And we all used to laugh and think it's funny. But when you're in the transition of healing and really trying to understand who you are as a person and identify with some of the things that you experienced and try to figure out ways to heal from that and move on in your life, you realize some of those things that you were laughing about weren't really funny. You know, I can't take away anything from my father or my mother. I think I have wonderful parents, but because of their own personal trauma and them not being able to talk about it or recognize it or ever even have the opportunities to move forward from it and realize that some of their actions are triggers, they never knew my mother, and now my father probably doesn't even know that those actions weighed heavy on me. For one, becoming a partner to my father and really trying to make sure that he stayed true to the task. And then once he got out of rehab, he kind of went back to just being an individual. And I was just like every other weekend. I felt useless. I never said that before, but I felt useless. And I started to feel like I was being treated like just another lady, that he was charming. And I think I held on to that for a really long time. And even in my relationships, I created relationships with men that continued to make me feel worthy. And the only way I could feel worthy was just doing everything. Making sure that you don't forget that you need me. I had to tell my father the other day that we were going to sell the house. And that was hard for me because I had to finally break that attachment for myself. I had to finally say that I was worthy without doing everything, without taking on so much, without creating baggage for myself. And of course, like always, my dad was very understanding. And but what he doesn't know is on the back end, the release that I was granted with, pretty much just saying, I can't do this anymore. You got to figure this out. And I can't take care of you. That was hard for me. I didn't even want to release it. I didn't want to feel useless to him, or be useless, or be seen useless in his eyes. But that's the trauma that was created when I was a child. When him and my mother separated, and my relationship with my mom just was not being mended. It was detached. I had to find the next best thing. And that was my father, my other parent. And I latched on. And I never stopped. I took it from him, and I went on to project it into my other relationships. I don't even know who half these people dated because I didn't know who the fuck I was. I'm still trying to figure her out. What I do know is that I don't have to carry anyone else's burdens. And that doesn't make me a bad person. It's okay to say no. Or it's okay to actually say, I really need to focus on myself. I also know that when you have certain people in your life that don't know how to say no, and all they know, is to take, I would have been stuck in that, oh my God, for a lifetime. I think it took for me to start surrounding myself with men who saw that as not my job. About a couple of months ago, my younger brother moved in with me, and I happily received him, because at that time I was just recently divorced and I needed the help. My brother helped change my life. I'm so sorry to keep getting emotional, but I didn't realize this much about me. I didn't even know that I was behaving like this. I never saw these things in me. My brother just sat me down one day and was just like, what are you doing? Like, why are you taking care of all these people and not yourself? Like, literally, he was just like, what are you doing? I literally tried to instantly take on all of his responsibilities. Like, what do you need? Let me do this. Did you eat? Da, 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 da. And he looked me dead in my face and said, not your job. Mind your business. It was that simple conversation that made me realize, like, why do I do this? Because I just want to be seen as needed. When you look at the bigger picture of all of this, I'm like, my kids need me. That's enough. I need me. That should be enough. You know when they say that you date men like your dad? I did that. I really did. For a very long time. And I'm just realizing that within my family, there's so much pain. And there's so much unknown. And the fear of reality is more terrifying than happiness. The truth comes with happiness. Just getting clarity is your freedom. But we're always scared of the truth. This is the truth about me. I've been insecure for so long, and I've used relationships to validate my existence. The moment I've tried to be independent and step out and do me, I fell short because I had no idea what that consisted of. And I'm sitting here doing these podcasts, and let me tell you, so many people have reached out. So many people are like, dude, like, how are you able to do that? Or, I'm ready to talk about it too. And let me tell you, it's not easy. But if social media is supposed to be a platform for you to meet people and connect, I want people to meet me. I don't want anyone to know me for who I'm presenting myself to be. I want people to know me because of who the fuck I am. And here I am, like I am in a good place, even though I'm crying right now. I am in a good place. I'm just emotional because there's so much going on right now, and I'm trying to like keep it all together. This house, I'm grateful. But packing up these boxes and just sitting there, and I'm seeing my dad pack his stuff, and my kids are actually like excited about it. And when I asked my daughter, really, you're not mad or anything like that, and she goes, Mom, I would rather be in a place where I can see you happy. I didn't even know she knew. I didn't even know she could see or recognize how unhappy I've been. But that's because she loves me. For me. I don't have to portray anything with my kids. They love me. It's one day at a time. And that's all I could continue to do. But one thing I do know is that my father and I will continue to have a wonderful relationship. And we'll continue to have these difficult conversations. But most of all, we're going to continue to heal and deal with the reality. Now, my dad is old school, so we have talked about this, and his biggest thing is let's talk about it and move on. And I agree. I want to move on. And moving out of this house is moving on. And releasing myself from that burden of wanting to take care of him and do for him and provide for him before I can even provide for myself is refreshing. I was actually more scared to tell him about the move than my kids, which is crazy. But my dad loves me. He supports me. He rides with me. I just hope he understands that unknowingly that burden, whatever it is that he was carrying, to allow women, and not even allow, to never say stop, to just keep taking, caused me a lot of pain. But it never made me stop loving him, or never made me stop wanting to be in his presence. My dad stayed in rehab for probably 3-4 months. And after rehab, he went to a recovery home. But it was like he had his own apartment. And I remember we would go and visit, and we would spend time, and it was great. And now that I think about it, hell, I was the woman. I was getting the food. I was making the dinner. I was making him coffee. I was cleaning the house. I wasn't going there to visit Dad. Shit, I was going to be Molly the damn maid. Jesus. I needed a mentor back then. But my dad also started to date too. And when he started to date, that woman, hell, became Molly the maid. And he didn't need me anymore. And I was lost again. Lost. And I had to find myself. I had no fucking clue how to do that. And being lost was scary for me. I felt like my vision was instantly taken, and I didn't have anybody to support me and help me to lead the way. My behavior just started to change a lot. There was a short time after high school that I didn't speak to my father, because I noticed these behaviors within him. My dad is if he needs something and you a woman that see that light skin, you know, that smile, that swag, and you gonna do it, he's gonna take it. But that's his survival mode. That's all he knows. I can't change that about him, but I can change my actions and how I move forward. I can still be a loving daughter and still provide from a distance, meaning provide my love, provide my time, be there emotionally if he needs me, hell, be there physically if he needs me. I'm riding with you, Pop. But I have to change my behaviors in our relationship. I have to change my behaviors in my relationships with men, period. It is not our job as women to be in relationships and become mothers. That's not our job. Our job is to be partners and be loved, but most of all, making sure that we're solid enough for ourselves that we can be of a support to our partners. Amen. Okay, because that took me a long time to get there. I just want you guys to know that this blog is really changing me. This podcast is challenging me. Again, I really don't know what the outcome of this all is, but being able to tell my truth and talk about it and really allow you to understand who I am as a person, I'm looking forward to meeting some really great, amazing people. This is what social media should be about. I don't care what kind of car you drive. I don't care what kind of house you live in. Who the fuck are you? Then we can be friends. I remember that we started going to church, and we actually went with my stepdad, and that was hard for me because my mom was just so excited. Like, she was just like, yep, I got my man, I got my family, we up in this church, we're solid. But we weren't. We were very divided, and I remember her just wanting to really like be involved and committed within the church. And in my eyes, I'm like, well, okay, if this is my way back into her good graces, church it is. Church was what I looked forward to. I liked it. I remember that even as a child, I was captivated by the women in the hats and the dresses and the perfumes and how they just stature. You know, they were just beautiful women who were just so profound and just had this image, and I'm just like, yeah, okay, I want to be like them. And I just remember the people at the church being very accepting of me. They didn't, I'm not sure if it was a need, but that void I was feeling was being fulfilled. And they were pouring into me. They were speaking life to me. They were showing me that I was someone that didn't need to stand with anyone else but God. And that was working for me. It was working. And I really started to thrive in the church. And I became part of the choir. I was on the dance team. I don't know if I was in the choir. I was in the choir when I was a kid, but I'm not sure around this time if I was in the choir. But I was a part of the dance team, the drama team. I was the president of the youth church. I was all in it. If they wanted to do an event and needed someone to speak, I was raising my hand because it was feeding me. It was like my source. Ooh, yes, Lord. It was my source. God was my source. It was just everything in me. And I just remember all of my worries were no longer mine to carry. It was as if for that moment, those few years, I would say, the trauma that I had endured was no longer in the forefront. And if I'm remembering this correctly, I don't remember speaking to my dad as much. Yeah. I'll speak more on that next week because I will be dropping Jesus Love Me Part 2 next week and speaking about it on the podcast for next week. But you guys. Healing, ultimately, all bullshit aside, is necessary. You can't shy away from this. Like, why would you want to? You could be living your entire life being non-existent. And I say non-existent because until you deal with any internal issues that you have, how do you know that you're actually being yourself? I mean, at that point, you're just reacting to shit. What if you just stopped and you removed all that pain? Who would you be then? That's what I'm trying to figure out. That's what this journey is. But I do know my daughter and my son love me. So whoever I'm becoming, they definitely are looking at her and they are proud of her. So I gotta keep going. It has to be for me first, but definitely for them too. I'm gonna get to packing, say goodbye. I'm not how long I'll be here, but I want to close with this. Mom, I love you. You made a very strong woman out of me. And for so long, I didn't know exactly what I was supposed to use that strength for, but now I know. And it is that strength that you instilled in me that is getting me through every single day. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to be in your home and to continue to bring our family together and have memories that we will never forget. I thank you for doing the best you could. But most of all, I thank you for instilling God in my life. It was necessary for my survival. I miss you every single day, but I feel you in here. Dad, I'm not sure you watch this podcast, but I love you, and you are my dog, and you my rock. You know, we here, and I thank you, Dad, for being a father that was always present. Even if you didn't know the answers, or even if you probably didn't do things right, or maybe you did and some were wrong, I thank you because no matter what, you still were there. I'm grateful for all your triumphs, and I'm grateful for all your losses, because you're still able to be here today for me and for my kids. And my kids love them some G-pop. And to everyone else out there, I thank you for continuing to rock with me and ride this wave and get to know me for who I am. But most of all, accepting me for who I am, because I can only be me. Well, another episode down. I'm gonna try and wipe my face, get my nail fixed, or maybe take them off, who knows, and get some work done. But I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we're gonna keep doing this. On a side note, I do want to let you guys know I have some exclusive feedback and interviews from some of the closest people in my life. One of them being my first cousin, Brandy, and my business partner and friend, Ina. I have interviewed them, and they'll be sharing their stories about their dads, stories about their moms, and stories of healing. I welcome anybody who wants to share their story or just want someone to listen. I am here. I will listen. I will be posting those interviews on my Patreon, which is for members only, but that is exclusive content, and it will be all exclusive content on Patreon. So look out for that. That's coming soon. And let me tell you, my circle is so solid. They are healing. They are trying to live a better life. And I thank God that this podcast has opened their eyes to some of the things that were holding them back. So if you are someone you know has a story deep within that they want to share or talk about, please DM me, text me, email me, whatever you like. I will be here to listen to you. Even if you don't want to record, I'm totally fine with that. But you have a friend in me because I like Toy Story. I love y'all. Peace.